right. How's it going?
How's it going? Good, good.
Good. We finally got everything up. We changed everything up around, and I think we are good to go to start episode 2 of Gaming Over 30. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the genres of stuff that we've played in our time, the stuff that we were really into when we were kids, and talk about like how our tastes have changed. What are the things that we're into now, or one of the things that really kind of get us now that we either A, have time for, or B, we play them because we don't have time for them. My name is DuShaun Williams. I'm here with my co-host and friend, Chris Moncada.
How's it going?
It's going good. And it's another Friday. We made it to episode 2. That is congratulations for us, man. Where's that?
Yeah,
I know
heck
there's
yeah.
supposed to be some like special like clap thing, but I guess it's not on this one. But it's all good. So before we kind of get started, just want to see if music sounds okay. You okay with having some music, or just kind of kick it for now?
I'm good with music.
Yeah, let's try that lo-fi stuff we were listening to earlier.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
All right. With that being said, it looks like we're good on YouTube side, so we can see everything, and I think we're good to go. So last time, I think I kind of kicked it off with the question and everything. So I kind of really want you to kind of drive the first one and stuff. Kind of just talk about some of the genres you were like. What was the actual first console that you actually tried playing?
The first console I ever tried playing was a Nintendo, the OG NES.
OG NES.
Yeah, my sister and her boyfriend at the time had it, and so at first he had it, and I'd go over to play, and then she had it here, and so I would jump onto that and play whenever I could.
Oh, okay, good. I think for me, I know I've tried to play Nintendo games, but it's really fuzzy for me to see if it was Nintendo, the older NES, or Sega that came first for me. Mainly because I remember going over to like a family of a friend's house a lot when I was younger, and they had a Sega, and we had I didn't really have the NES at the time, so it was really just going on with friends. But I remember when I was over there, I was playing Sega a lot, so I remember a lot of the Sega games. My first console
Nice.
that I actually owned was the Super NES. That was like the actual real first console I ever owned.
That was my first console I owned. I had an NES, my sister had, and then my parents got me for Christmas SNES, and that was my baby.
But let's see. What was the game that you remember like first playing? Like for me, it's really hard. I just do not remember the first game I've ever played.
It has to be between. It was either Life Force, Metroid, or Castlevania.
I think I'm probably more basic. I want to say Super Mario, or it's either Super Mario or Sonic, because I know that's all they really had around the time was like some of the Sonic games. That's how I got introduced to the series. But again, it's like it's hard for me to figure out which one came first. But those are the type of games, like the old G platformers, the stuff that I've tried out. It was different when I actually got my own console. And you said you had Super NES as your first one. What games did you start getting for those?
I got the bundle with the Mario All Stars included.
Mario,
So
really?
yeah, it was included with it, and then it came with 2 controllers, and so I still have playing a lot of like just Super Mario. Like I had played the first, and then I played 1, 2, and 3 on the NES, and then when I got it on there, I went to the Super Mario World that was on there, and after that, I started doing the Japanese one that never released in the United States at the time for the NES, and that's where I started playing that one, but I was so young at the time, I just couldn't beat it. It was way too hard for me, especially at that age.
Let's see. I know for me, it was very surprising. The first games that I've had, I actually had a lot of Super NES games, but the ones that I remember the most were definitely Mortal Kombat and Killer Instinct.
Really?
Yeah, like I actually had a lot of Mortal Kombat Killer Instinct. Like I know I had 2. I'm not sure if I had 2. I know definitely 3 and 3 Ultimate were like my most played around that time. and Killer Instinct. I like Killer Instinct because of like the black cartridge and stuff. That kind of what it got me. That's when
Yeah.
like Smiths was a thing back in El Paso. Like that was like really old, but I ended up playing enough where I just bought it, and it was nice. Like I guess that's kind of when I was really getting into like fighting games. Like Primal Rage was another one. Street Fighter
Dude, yeah,
2.
Primal Rage was awesome. Street Fighter 2, I
Yeah.
was obsessed with. And then I used to play a lot of I think it might have been Mortal Kombat 2 because a Smith's over here had a Mortal Kombat 2 arcade, and every time I had to go, my sister's boyfriend, which is my brother-in-law, he would take us like to go shop for some quick stuff, and I would go and he'd give me quarters so I could play for a little bit.
I forgot that Smiths even had that. Like Smiths was a weird story that I don't know
Random.
why it died, but it just kind of disappeared from history. But I got a lot of games from there. Like the other one was of course Blockbuster because they were really close to each other. But
Yeah.
I know I got a lot more stuff from Smiths at the time. What else? I remember Donkey Kong was probably one of like the really bigger platformer games that I played. Donkey Kong Country 3 was, I know, the one that I hit the most because that was the one I actually owned. A lot of games I rented back then. So like
Yeah, me
Donkey Kong
too.
1 and 2 were definitely like, I didn't actually own those, but when I got, and it's probably from my birthday, a lot of the games I don't know how I actually acquired them. I just know that they appeared. And so it's just like, oh yeah, I remember playing this game, but I remember a lot of the games that I owned and stuff, and those were a lot of the big ones that I really kept playing and stuff.
I think one of the craziest like things and stories was my brother-in-law got me Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 for the SNES for my birthday, and I'll never forget because he had to pay $90 for that game.
Really?
Yeah, because cartridges at the time were pretty expensive and stuff like that because Nintendo pretty much had a control over everything, and so that cartridge was $90 brand new, and he was able to get it for me working at his little village inn waiter job.
Oh, nice. That's some good old love right there.
Yeah, nowadays it's like, dang, $90 for a game. It better have like some special features and stuff in it.
Mm-hmm. Ah, Jesus. So that was like our first. That was my first own console. I think after that, I got the Game Boy Pocket. Was probably like my next, and it's a handheld, so maybe cheating a little bit, but I remember that was like the second most thing. Then it became the first thing that I played the most after Super NES. I know I played other consoles and stuff like that, and I had some funny things about like the PlayStation that I had acquired because I had one thing, I had no PlayStation, and all of a sudden I had 3, and it was just like how this stuff worked out. But I just remember I was Nintendo for a good minute. Like as much as I played the Sega stuff, I only played it when I was over at their house.
That was before Sega. It was at my friend's house. I'd go over, and we play a lot of Sonic and the side scroller arcade version of X-Men. And that literally solidified my love for like Nightcrawler. Going forward is one of my favorite X-Men ever.
Nice. What other game did you play? Because I know I play Sonic and Knuckles. I think that was probably one of like my more favorite ones that I got to try out from that side.
For when it came to the Genesis, I don't remember too much because since I wouldn't go too often to their house, they would come to my house. So he would usually come because he'd rather play with my SNES than he would his own Genesis. So we would just come over here and stuff like that and play over here most of the time.
Cool. Where I want to say like where that was like back then when you were hanging out with everybody, or did you meet everybody later?
No, I met later. I knew this. So I had a weird thing where my kinder, first, and second grade teacher was the same, and it was all the same students for those 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had like a small group of like kids and stuff like that knew each other through there. So we would all hang out, and they would all come over to my parents' house over here to play games, hang out, play action figures, and all that fun stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I knew that friend from.
So I mean, you were kind of similar. So I mean, you had All Star, so you kind of got some type of platformer RPG kind of stuff. What was the genre that you really liked back in the old day?
There wasn't much of it, but it was Metroidvania. Like I loved Castlevania and Metroid, even though I could never beat them when I was younger on the NES.
Mm-hmm.
And I would rent Super Metroid all the time from Blockbuster, and then my parents eventually bought it for me for Christmas, and I played that game religiously. like to this day, I can still remember most of the items and where to get them and stuff like that. Like it's ingrained in me.
I remember playing Super Metroid for the Game Boy, and the thing that really killed me the most about Super Metroid was like I got stuck pretty easily. Like I felt like I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
shot everybody. I don't see any enemies. Where do I go? Like a lot of times I kind of just got stuck. Like maybe Dad did something wrong. I don't see anything popping up, and I just said, I mean, I guess whatever. I'll go on to the next game. Like I think Castlevania and all those games I really didn't really play too much when I was younger. I think for me it was really between mostly fighting games. I'll be honest. I think that's where I really got into playing and owning fighting games, and I think they were the games I probably owned the most out of
Okay.
everything around that time. And then I would either rent or sometimes buy like a platformer. So like Donkey Kong and all that. I think it wasn't until like we started getting into like the later consoles this when like your world kind of jumps around a little bit more, because almost games back then everything kind of felt like they were trying to do the same thing. If they weren't like tic-tac-toe, Galaga, and Pac-Man, that most of them were kind of
those.
yeah, like second generation I felt like was kind of playing the same thing but with the music. Like Mega Man, I did like Mega Man. I didn't beat it around the time, but I did like it. I thought it was really cool.
I love Mega Man X on the SNES. I could never get into Mega Man when I was little, like the original, but when X came out, for some reason that just clicked for me. I never owned it though, so I'd always have to rent it, so I would never beat it in the time I'd have to rent it.
You know what game was really hard, but I still loved it every time I played? The Spider-Man games for Super NES.
Oh, yeah.
When you had to, oh god, those like it was so like beat 'em ups like were really fun because you could play with multiple people, but they were just sometimes downright hard and solo in some cases. And it's like I could probably have a better time with it, but like I remember that game just being like sometimes ridiculous. Out in the later levels of stuff, and getting punched in the face wasn't really all that fun. So, but I remember playing it with my cousins and stuff a lot. God, was Rampage that old too?
Yeah, Rampage was old.
Yeah, if anything, I know I beat that game. Me and family have beaten that game, so it wasn't as hard as Spider-Man. But then like Rampage, you're just going over and destroying, eating everything. It's a little bit easier concept.
Yeah. One thing that I for some reason always remembered, and for some reason I always rented, was the side-scrolling freaking 7-Up game where you're the little red 7-Up dot.
Oh god, another game from Smith's. You never owned it, but you kept playing it. And oh god, that was actually pretty fun. Like it was a weird title. Like you just saw it and you're like, I don't know what this is for, but I'm here for it. So you just tried it anyway. So it was nice. It was pretty fun.
And then the one that I really wanted to get into, but I never owned it, so I would rent it. And then by the time I would get a chance to rent it again, my save file would end up being deleted. It was Secret of Mana.
Secret of Mana. I remember that. I'm trying to remember. Is that the one? It's like the Mana games now, right? But it was just like you had to play it through. You started from zero every time or whatever.
You could save it and stuff like that, but since I never owned it, whenever I would rent it again, like they would either overwrite my save file or it would be deleted. And so I was like, well, I just have to start all over again. So I never got to beat it.
Weren't memory cards the best thing when they came out? Is like it's so because if you rented a game, like that's why I guess I play fighting games a lot, because it really didn't matter. Like it's just like if someone got all the characters or whatever they did at the time, it was a benefit for everybody because you could just jump in. You're just playing to fight each other, and that's about it. And generally, I really did like that. But I think everything else, if you didn't own it, you couldn't fully like do it unless you like. I mean, if you're good, you could do it in 5 days. But I mean, it's not impossible. It's just at that time, it's like you always was starting from the very beginning. So some games that were just like, party games like Mario Party. Mario Kart was a big one for Super NES. That's probably the only time that I really, really liked racing games around the time was Mario Kart. That's kind of like the gateway drug for all that. And it lives to this day.
And then I was a huge Street Fighter 2 fan, and I would like, play it over and over by myself. And I remember playing it on the hardest difficulty. And to this day, I still have my same SNES with the original controller. It has bite marks where I bit the controller because I got so mad of getting my butt kicked by Bison.
You're not supposed to bite the controller when you get mad.
I couldn't throw it, and I had to do something to release my rage. So I just said, I'm just gonna bite it.
Just punch a wall like a normal kid.
No, my dad would have.
No, I'm crazy. What else? I mean, with Super NES, I know I got a lot of stuff. What was your next console around that time? What was the next one?
64.
64.
Yeah, Nintendo 64.
64 was great.
Yeah,
I still like it. It is still one of my favorite consoles. Not my most favorite, but it's the one that's like, if I had good memories of gaming, it was probably that one. The Legend of Zelda was Ocarina of Time, which is great at that time because it was the only type of game like it. Everybody was playing it. You know, you just had fun with it, and like you had something to talk about around the time.
I remember playing it with like at the same time one of my friends was playing it, but I was able to beat the game without using a guide manual and stuff like that. And then he had the guide manual. And so we would talk about, oh, did you do this? I was like, yeah, I found this. And then I found that. He's like, how did you find it? I was like, I just wandered into it and I found it. And he's like, I had to use the guide to try and find that and this and that. And I'm like, oh, well, my parents can't afford a guide. I just gotta, I was like, I got nothing else to do. So I'm just going to run around the whole freaking environment and see what I can find.
I think for me, I can't tell if Super NES or Nintendo 64 was my second or my third. When we're talking about consoles, because do you remember when PlayStation came out?
No,
it might have been after, like
it might have been 98. I don't know, 98 to 2000 around that time.
I would say PlayStation release date. Let's see where that is, because I'm trying to remember. Like this stuff has happened so long ago. Wikipedia, you could do a little bit better than that. Introduced 1994, so like 27 years ago. So let's try that in 64. I know I didn't get it at launch. It took a lot of convincing on my parents and everything else to get this. So I know it wasn't something that I got when everybody else was getting into it. So I know I was on a later trim. I got it when the Atomic Purple controller came out. That's when I started.
Yeah.
So 96. Really?
The PlayStation was 1995 here in the US of September.
1995. Wow, so PlayStation did come first. So CD was first. Okay.
Ah, yeah.
So I still don't think the PlayStation was the first one because I definitely didn't get that first either. But I know I got it with. So I'll say Nintendo 64 was the first one, with Ocarina of Time being the first game for sure. And
it was GoldenEye.
Oh, can't forget GoldenEye. The one game that got everybody into first-person shooters.
Yeah.
that was the party game. That was the party game. Like
everybody would come over, they'd bring their controllers, and you just stay up all night playing it. Different modes, big head, slaps only.
Yeah, because you were breaking the game in all kinds of ways. Everybody got golden gun. Everybody got this. You weren't even trying to memorize the map. Everybody was just running like, "We're gonna find you somewhere."
I would love the one level where like it's the beginning of the very first single player one, and you have like little vent, and you could actually get in the vent because it was like a glitch to try and jump in there and get in, and you could hide in the vent and wait for people to find you and shoot them from the top.
I do have to ask though, did you ever actually play the story for GoldenEye?
Oh yeah, all the time.
It took. I own the game, and it took me the longest time to even attempt story. Like I just never went to single player for that game, and then I was like, "Oh, this is interesting," but it was like I had the game literally just to play multiplayer, just to play with people.
Really?
Because it was just because that's all we did. Like at first, like you get introduced by other people, and that's all you're doing with them. So that's pretty much all you do with over here. So it wasn't really like I got around to it, but that wasn't really the game that you cared what was happening in the storyline. Like there were some cool moments and stuff like that, but outside of that, it's like I couldn't even tell you if I beat it or not. That's how little I played of it. It's like
because I was the youngest of three, but it was two older sisters, and then my brother-in-law was living here at the time, but he was working, so it was pretty much just me by myself because I was the only boy. So I would just play games to occupy my time because it was school, go to soccer practice, and then play games afterwards because I always finish my homework like either during school or like right afterwards.
What was it? What's the most played, or like the game that you played the most on Super NES, or not Super NES, Nintendo 64?
Pokemon Stadium.
I was gonna say that too. Pokemon Stadium was the game to play. It may be because me and you are Pokemon fans. I know that for sure. But Pokemon Stadium was literally the shit around the time.
Oh, dude, it was the best. And then like the mini games were just so fun.
It had it wasn't just like let's just play with each other. It was literally Mario Party inside Pokemon.
Yeah,
that's basically what it was. And it's like, oh yeah, we can all play, but I liked it because it introduced a lot of concepts. It was like, yeah, well, you can use your team and all that. That's cool. Or we could go blind and they'll just pick a team, or you pick
that was awesome.
Like your favorite Pokemon, or everybody got starter Pokemon. There were so many ways of playing, and then you could still play with yourself. There was a lot of replay value in Pokemon Stadium. It was just the coolest thing at the time.
Yeah, I love that game to death, and like it blew my mind seeing the Elite Four in 3D. Like I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, it introduced us a concept that we wouldn't have even thought about until like later.
Yeah.
But no, it was great. I mean, it was just nice to see like a lot of how like a lot of your hard work actually playing a different game, especially if you had everything, you were able to connect and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, that was.
Do you remember having to plug in the Rumble pack so your controller could rumble?
I remember having to like do all kinds of stuff. Like you were like pre-modding like Nintendo 64 to do all this stuff. It's just like, oh, we gotta, like the controller itself is already a monster looking controller, but then it was just like, oh, let's make it heavier, let's make it bigger.
Your Rumble pack, your memory card, your attachment to put the Pokemon game in it if you want it.
Yeah, so you just had everything that was kind of going for that one.
And then you actually had to upgrade the graphics card once it came to Majora's Mask. The little expansion thing, or was it? I think it was first, right?
Yeah, it was Majora's Mask was where you first got I think you got the Rumble pack was Majora's Mask. When you, when you got that game when it came out, I think it came with the Rumble pack. So that's pretty interesting. I think that's the only way everybody got it. That was a good follow up to Ocarina of Time, but it took a while for me to get the concept. Like, oh, I have to do everything in this time frame. Oh, well, that kind of sucks. I'm not that good. Then it's like, oh, I have to play the song. Well, ain't this funny? Like, no one tells you this thing, so you're going in blind. And then I just remember, like, why do I just keep dying? Or why did this keep going on? The world ends, and I'm just kind of messing around here. What else? Let's see. So I know PlayStation came after that. I think PlayStation is when I started getting into different genres of games. I think that's when I really started getting heavy into RPGs. Okay. I think most of my favorite RPGs really reside on the PlayStation, and then kind of PlayStation 2 after that. But I know PlayStation. So, like I said, like my parents didn't give me the PlayStation. What actually happened, I had a cousin named Jason, and he ended up getting a lot of PlayStations, but he wasn't really a big gamer. That's when I actually started playing the Mortal Kombat trilogy over his house. I think that's when I started getting into Dynasty Warriors. I'm not sure. Remember Dynasty Warriors?
Dynasty Warriors, yeah.
But he had just somehow I acquired like 1, 2, 3 of them from him, probably 1 or 2. But the one that I got from him that was really crazy was an orange PlayStation. Like, I don't know how he got it, but the actual casing of it, what on top of it was orange.
Really?
Yeah, and I still have it, and it was just kind of crazy. Like, what? Where'd you even get this? I've never even seen this, and not even the thing to buy. But he kind of just gave it to me. Like at first he was just letting me borrowing it, and then I forgot what we did back then, and I ended up just owning it. And then I started being able to get stuff. It was cool because when people else were kind of getting into it, and there were so many games like in the ether, that's when like people were sharing more games because everybody had their memory card, so you weren't overriding other people's saves. You had your own save version. And I think that's when I slowly started getting into like how to play the Japanese games on there. When you had to like kind of like, oh, how do I play this game, or how do I do this and stuff. I think that's when I first started getting into it. But
Okay.
definitely that's when like I really hit like the RPG stride of like joining different RPGs, Final Fantasy 7, Xenogears, Luna 2, Luna 1. What was it? There's another one I keep forgetting the name. I know there's Remnant, kind of like an action RPG. There was a crazy amount of games I played on there. There was like a lot of the odd games like Super Monkey Ball and all that I've also played too. But I think that's where like I started getting into those multi-disc. I know Final Fantasy 9 was like was actually not the first Final Fantasy that I owned, but the first one I actually beat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because Final Fantasy 7 I played it on and on, but my other cousin Darren had it. So we would only play when it was over at their house, and it was theirs. So I didn't really ever borrow it.
Right.
And we actually played together. It was actually me and another cousin there. We actually played it together, and we were played through the first disc. And it wasn't until later, until like I forgot how I acquired it when I actually went back and played it. But I didn't really play 8. I kind of skipped it, and I just went straight into 9. And then that 9 is probably like my most memorable one, just because like I actually played it from start to finish, all 4 discs and all that.
I skipped the complete PlayStation 1 and went straight into PlayStation 2.
Really?
So I was stuck on the 64 for a long time.
Did you
and Game Boy Color?
I didn't really bring it up, but Game Boy definitely took over your life on the other spectrum. Like,
yeah.
Only because that's when you first get introduced to Pokemon. That's where you first get introduced to an RPG, but don't really feel like it's an RPG. And RPG everything, so there's no reason why it's not, but no one ever called it that. That's the thing. But I remember putting in well over 100, 150 hours into my Red, and then it got stolen.
No.
I had Red at first, and I was going, Fort Bliss or whatever. They actually have like programs and stuff on there. And we took it one day, and for some reason, I had my Game Boy, but Red was gone.
No.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
And I just don't know like what happened with it at that time. I don't know how it kind of went about, but it was just like, oh, this was terrible.
Did you already beat the game and everything?
Oh yeah, no, I killed the game. So I got blue because I didn't get red, and I remember that's when like I got Blastoise and I really kind of beefed him up, and that's when I started really getting into the other stuff. So like I did it all over again with blue, but that just shows you how much I liked the game at the time. Because that's the first, you wanted to start off with the other starters and stuff. You wanted to see if the whole Mew thing was true, and all the other kind of jazz.
Doing the whole missing number cheat and everything.
I will say, Pokemon Gold and Silver was the most memorable for me second game that came after playing the first game that I really, really loved, or that I was really anticipating. Like, I have to own this game. It has to be in my hand.
Yeah, that was one of the only games when I was younger that I actually got like the day it came out, because I was obsessed with Pokemon Red, and then my parents and my sister and everything were able to get me the Pokemon Yellow Pikachu Edition Game Boy Color, with the yellow and stuff like that. So I played yellow time, and like since I was playing soccer stuff like that, we'd go to tournaments out of town and stuff like that. And so I remembered like dearly, like I had this like gold yellow like light attachment to it, and like a pack of batteries next to me in the back of the car and stuff like that as we drove down to Phoenix, stuff like that. So it was like 6-hour drive. So we drive, I have a pack of batteries because I had the light there, and it was like, I remember it was a gold snake, like it was a snake. I had a thing with a light that went on there so I could play it. Like I remember that perfectly, dude.
Oh yeah, when Game Boy Color came out and your Game Boy Color was just equipped. It had the screen with the light and the magnifying. It had the buttons to use like a control stick on it, extra battery, and all kind of crazy stuff. It's funny because I got the yellow Game Boy Color, but I didn't get the yellow special edition Pikachu one.
Okay.
But I just got to kind of fake it out.
Yeah.
But I never know yet. I think for me, gold and silver and then yellow are probably like how I would probably rank Pokemon games.
Me too.
Just because like Pokemon Yellow just solved a fantasy. What happens if you got all three starters and actually play the anime storyline to some degree, right? Because
what if you could be Ash, but it actually be better?
Because everybody thought you were still Ash in that game. No one really had the concept that you were actually this player called Red. And maybe I'm just dumb because I remember I just like Pokemon for Pokemon. I like the collecting aspect of it. But I really just kind of enjoyed the game. I enjoyed part 2 of it. So I played a lot of games for the Game Boy one, but if there's one thing that kept having me buy Game Boy after Game Boy after Game Boy, it was definitely Pokemon.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, especially for Emerald or what, Ruby and Sapphire.
Ruby and Sapphire.
Yeah, it's like, oh, gotta get a Game Boy Advance. I didn't even know it was coming out, but now I need to get it.
That's where I went different because I love Gold and Silver so much but I loved Metroid so much that I got a Game Boy Advance for the Metroid game.
Really?
Yeah, for Fusion, I believe, right?
Oh yeah, no, I think Fusion came out.
Yeah.
It was weird because I remember I was never really on top of the release of a lot of the consoles, especially for Game Boy, even though I played it so much.
Me either.
But like I only knew it when I knew that this game I want to play is for this console. That's when I had to go figure out how to get it and stuff. So yeah, I had worked up to getting like the Game Boy Advance, and then it was like what the DS, Nintendo DS or whatever, and you had to get that for the next Pokemon game, and then it was just like Pokemon was just kind of like, okay, we got to get the next one. It's kind of like how some titles, like I first got the original Xbox 360 because of Eternal Sonata. Like,
gotcha.
I literally went on eBay because they were pretty much sold out, but I went on eBay because I wanted the Xbox 360 Elite Edition, and I went on eBay for some reason. Somebody was selling it cheaper. I don't know why. I don't know how, but I don't ask questions. So I was able to buy it. Nothing wrong with it. Worked perfectly, and I was like, all right, mission accomplished. I didn't get scammed on eBay because I have before. It's like, but I know we're kind of slowly kind of getting into it. But I guess since you said you skipped PlayStation era, did the type of genre shit change after that, or were you still kind of carrying the type of games that you really liked into the next generation?
It wasn't until PlayStation 2 is when my genre started to change a lot. I started going more into like RPGs and stuff like that. Like I fell in love with I think it was Shadowheart.
Oh, Shadowheart! Oh, Jesus! I don't even.
Another game I never owned it, but I would rent it like religiously.
I still own all 3.
Really? See, I only played the first one because it was rented, so I specifically remember going over to your house one time, and I was like, "Oh, Shadowheart!" And I was like, "Those are 2 and 3," and you're like, "Yeah." I was like, "What?"
Dude, it was weird because the first one just had a different take of it. You're just like, where am I? Why is everything freaking out? Why's all this other stuff? But it was like, I kind of like what's happening. I like the sauce.
Yep.
But I would say for me, I would say that I was slowing down on fighting games. I know I slowed down on first-person shooters. I think after GoldenEye, I didn't really get too much into Halo. When Halo was really a thing, my next door neighbor he was a big Halo guy, original Xbox. When I go over there, that's all we play is Halo. Yeah. But I guess I wasn't so big into it. I guess it just kind of felt different. After like the silliness of GoldenEye, it's kind of hard to go to something that's like a lot more serious, you know. So like I didn't really get into first person shooters all that much, but I only play fighting games when like some fighting games came out. I think I'd really transferred to arcade style for Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Gotcha.
The center that I was at actually had Marvel vs. Capcom there, and a place that we would go as a group had Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Oh, really?
So that was like the best game that they had. So a lot of people were basically straight in arcade style Marvel vs. Capcom, and I think that's when I started using the internet to try to get all those characters and stuff like that. Because I still remember it's like what left, down, right, down, left, up, right, and that's how you get roll. Like I remember that. It was like the easiest one. And that was crazy around that time.
I was super into Guilty Gear Double X.
I was too. I did get that game, but
Yeah.
I think it was the only game that I like, a fighting game that I liked that because it had a storyline.
Yeah.
But it's like if
I was really into anime at that time and stuff like that because I grew up with it. So like I was like, this is perfect. It's a fighting game. I love fighting games, and it has an anime aspect to it. Let's go.
I think it blended the rock aesthetic. But
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, with I Know Hard.
Yeah,
Everything else was like fine, and like I probably wasn't like the best fighting game person around the time back then, but Jesus Christ, like trying to fight I Know was like just learning how to move was like the main of the game, and you're just like, how do I beat her when she's taking up the whole screen?
And then like my other go-to was I never got big into Capcom versus Marvel and stuff like that because every time I would play it, everybody was just so much better because they had the game already and stuff like that. And so I could never get a cadence and stuff like that or find a character I could fall in love with and get good with. And so I ended up getting Capcom versus SNK 2, and that was my jam.
Countdown SNK 2 was great as well. I remember, I mean, they had a ton of characters on that game. I mean, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was 52 characters too. Like they had a great breadth of characters as well. But I just remember the type of style. I don't even know why we don't have a third or like another one of that game. Like I was kind of sad about it because it was so good.
Yeah.
I remember on the cruise, I played the SNK game. I don't know why this cruise had it. I think it was like Carnival or something, but they actually had. That's when I really got into like SNK, like just the characters like Ori and stuff like that.
Yeah,
because trying to play the arcade of that one, and then I just never trying to beat up the arcade just to even kind of get some moves in there because some arcades just you can't get with it. But I really got into it. But I remember. And I didn't own that game. I did rent out as a Capcom vs. SNK 2, but I was like, this game's cool.
Yeah, I loved it. One of my buddies, I found out he was like a huge fan of me and stuff like that, and like we knew each other from school and stuff like that, but we wouldn't hang out very often. So once we found out we both loved that game, like we made an effort to. He came over to the house and we played it all night. And then I remember in my like early, maybe right around when I was 20, 21, maybe before that. I went to Phoenix because my friend was living over there, and we went to a place called Castles and Coasters, and they had a 2-story. It was a castle, and you go inside. It was 2 stories, and it was all arcades, 2 stories, and they had a Capcom versus SNK 2 machine there. And I was like, "Oh, dude, I've never played on the arcade because I could never find one here." And so I went, and I was like, "I'm just gonna play, like, just do the story mode, whatever, the arcade mode, just play through it." And I was playing through it, and then I didn't realize that like it's like someone came up. I was like, "All right, cool, whatever. I'll probably get my butt kicked." Beat him. It's all right, cool. We'll go back to the arcade mode. Then another person came up, beat him. Then I was at the machine for almost 3 hours, and people kept coming, and I would not get off because I just kept beating them. And my friend, he was insanely good, like a Killer Instinct and stuff like that. And he would go back and forth and watch me stuff, and he's like, "Holy!" He's like, "You are really good at this game." I was like, "Am I?" I was like, "I'm just trying to like beat the story mode on here because I've never been able to do it." And people keep interrupting me. He's like, "You haven't lost yet." He's like, "There's been one guy who's tried 4 times to beat you, and you're still on there. You're still on there."
I forgot to even talk about the Killer Instinct Gold or the second Killer Instinct game. Like the difference between like the semi 3D 2D of Killer Instinct from the Super NES to like full on 3D, like crazy. Yeah. And then you're like, "Oh wow, Saber looks great. Ooh, look, Orchard looks nice." I remember playing that game. I never really understood how to play it good back then because I never understood like how like the like last like I'm gonna hit you 100 times, get the ultra combo thing worked out,
Yeah.
and nobody's willing to explain it to me because they kind of want to have advantage over me. So I just never really understand how to best play that game. I just know, okay, quarter circles, half, dragon punches, kicking. That's all I need. It's like,
Like back and forth, or charge back a little bit and forward, stuff like that.
yeah, it's pretty much
your go-tos.
jump, kick, hit buttons, Hadouken. It's basically the strat right there. To me, bread and butter was surviving at the point.
It was funny because at the same time, when I was at that SNK machine, afterwards I ended up playing my buddy on Killer Instinct on the arcade there, and like the first time I beat him, I would go one more time, and I went and I actually beat him on the arcade, and he was like furious, and I was like, you know what, that's it, I retire. I am never playing this game against you again. I was like, I beat you. I did what is the impossible thing to do. I won. I'm sorry. I'm leaving like this with the win.
We kind of got sidetracked, but you kind of reminded me of the other stuff. It was like we kind of jumped a little bit fast on that. Oh, so I mean, at this point, what do you say? Like, this is still like mid game into your journey, because I know when PS2 came out, a new standard was kind of happening. Because if you were like PS2 versus 360 kind of person, or I don't know, I think 360 was a little bit later because 360 was before PS3. But like PS2 versus Xbox, I think that's kind of where, to me, I couldn't really do Xbox at the time because the main crown was Halo. I didn't really get into Fable and stuff as much, or some of the other games that were kind of really made Xbox, because PS2 had too many different games that were good. Like the breadth of PS2 was insanely amazing. Like you had Disgaea, you had Kingdom Hearts, that you have Final Fantasy X. Like you started getting into other stuff, and I'm probably saying more RPGs, but RPGs really took pretty big turn when like their like cutscenes and stuff got better. More voice acting was more introduced. It started just getting insane because Devil May Cry was around that time. Like you just could play anything, and then people just had different things that they wanted to play. What other games were for PS2 that was like outside like God of War and stuff?
I played a lot of God of War. I played a lot of like, I guess you could say like shovelware stuff, because like we didn't have a lot of money for that, so I would buy games in like the bin, like the value bins and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and I get stuff there like, oh, this looks kind of cool. And so I cannot remember the name of this game, but I remember playing it, and it was one of those games that was like a PS2 game. It was an RPG game. It was an anime style, and it was the ones where like it came on the blue disc, so it had 2 discs instead of just the one. And I would play that over and over and over again, and I can't remember to this day what it was called, but
can you explain it a little bit?
No, like I remember because a lot of it was like you would actually walk around and stuff like that. It would like you would go into a map, move your character to like a location, go into the location, and then the game would be like you walking around there and stuff like that.
Oh god,
it was very fantasy. Like I doubt there was ever like any other ones ever made afterwards or anything.
PS2 was a trip. I think Armor Core came around that time too, right? From FromSoft. What there was one
I rented.
There's an RPG game that I didn't play. It was the second version of it that I really liked. I just don't remember. I just remember like outside the main character being male, the female character was actually 2 different people. There was like another soul inside the person, and sometimes you would switch to one and then she'd be a healer and they switch to the other one. And it was just story based, so like it wasn't like like the character could switch back and forth. It was only story based, and then you had different characters at the time. They made a few after that, but I just don't remember. Like I probably bring up like a list of PS2 games.
And then I never played a Final Fantasy until like my sophomore year of high school, because since they were numbered and I came in late into like the JRPG scene and stuff like that, I was like, oh well, I'm gonna have to play through all of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 before I can get to it and this and that. Like that was my mindset on it.
Dude, I just realized I just brought up PS2 games and just not even have to search. It's just the amount of games that were actually on there. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Grand Theft Auto 3, Resident Evil 4, God of War 2, Shadow of the Colossus, Okami, Persona 4. I'm like, did Persona 4 really come out on PS2? I was thinking it was PS3.
Like towards the end, right? It came out towards the end. It did the same thing that PS5 that Persona 5 did, where it had a PS3 version, but it was mainly for PS4.
Got you. Because I remember I got introduced into the Persona one for Persona 2. And you know what's crazy? So Persona 2, it was out for PlayStation. And I remember seeing the box. The box was really trippy. But I only remember seeing it when I went to one of the cruises I was talking about. And it was a shop in Florida that had it. I didn't buy it the first time, but I remember it. But we went again the next year, and we went to the same area, the same shop, and it was still there. And I was able to convince my parents to get it. I was like, no, it's still here. I must own it. We got to play this game. And I didn't really play it all that much, the Persona 2. Like, it's like I got it, and it was crazy, but it was a lot of crazy stuff. But what really got me into Persona was Persona 3. Persona 3 is when I really was like, I love this series. And then Persona 4 was like, you just making me love this series more. And then Persona 5 was like, oh, there we go. That's it. That's best RPG at the moment right now.
Yeah, for real. I didn't play Persona 4 until you introduced it to me. And I did it with the Vita. That was so grateful and memorable to play.
Rest in peace, Vita. I still got mine. I got it so I could play. I actually got the Vita because I really wanted to play a lot of the PS1 games and just kind of just have them, own them.
Yeah.
But I really wish there was more for the Vita. Like I feel sad about that. The PSP was also another one that I had that I did a lot of stuff on. But yeah, it was so I can play other games that I just didn't have enough time to play on a console. I want to have more time when I left.
I wasted so much time on summer nights on Gran Turismo 3.
Oh, I did play some of those games. I don't know what it was. I guess the whole realistic car thing just wasn't my jam. I really couldn't get into it.
I was raised with a racing family and stuff like that. So like, dude, I would spend so many times doing like the like 500 lap, 200 lap races and stuff like that. And like during the summer, I was like, oh, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to wake up early and stuff like that. So let's go. I would stay up till 4 a.m, just driving around in circles on them, just to try and get a better car. Because it was every time you wanted to get a car, it was randomized on what the new car you would get.
Yeah. But I guess for me, it's all like I really did try to get into them, but I guess to me it was just kind of like I didn't really see the appeal as much. But I guess it was because I was really too into story mode kind of stuff. You know what? One game that I know everybody played because it was surprisingly a good game. Def Jam.
Yeah,
I know you played Def Jam. I have to ask. Def Jam and Def Jam Vendetta. Like that game was crazy to play with, and people didn't really expect it to be good.
Another one that I played a lot too. It's funny because I was just talking about it. I think today or yesterday at work was it's kind of similar to Def Jam, but it was Street Hoops, and it was like the And One crew of basketball players, stuff like that, and it was their game and stuff like that. And then you could like unlock Ludacris and stuff like that in the game and stuff like that. And you're like, what? And like everyone was into like NBA Street, and I was like, no, dude, I like playing Street Hoops. Like, why do you like that's like a lamer game? I was like, no, dude, it's the And One crew, so it's like they do a lot more tricks and everything.
NBA Streets was pretty trippy though. I remember playing that. That's another one that I think. I only really played when I was young because of the type of games I was playing. Like NFL Blitz, I played all the time. There was a game that we did play because a lot of my cousins really like playing it too. But NFL Blitz didn't have the same rules as the Madden series. Like Madden was trying to be as close to like if this was like the actual game. These are the rules and all that and stuff. While Blitz was like you're just trying to play football with a little bit looser rules. Like if you really had to hit somebody, you kind of hit them. But it's like, but I think it was then like a lot of the sports games I just really couldn't get too much into it. And I remember what was it? NBA Streets was one of them. I know for Super NES I had the NBA game that they had at the time, and I always thought it was weird because it's like it's hard to say if skill was even involved at all in the game because it's like, well, how do I make sure that I actually get the 2-pointer, 3-pointer outside of dunking? Dunking was the only way to really guarantee it, and it was just kind of like, yeah, I mean. You're just trying to make sure that the other player can't get up to you to steal the ball. After that, it's just kind of it's 2D side scrolling on violent mode basically because you just like no, give it. You're just trying to switch between characters and stuff. But if there's one genre, it did not come with me in my later years. Still, is probably sports games, and then racing. Racing, at least there was Mario Kart, so it's kind of hard to get away from racing, but. It had to be like the concept of fun, I guess, for me. And to me, the realistic racing wasn't for me.
Gotcha.
What genre that you played that it just really didn't come with you in the later years?
I was really, really, really into like anime and stuff like that. Like Adult Swim was like a big thing for me and stuff like that. In my high school life, just staying up late. Just like watching and stuff like that on my own and stuff like that, and so I would play a lot of like anime games. Like I've been looking through the PS2 list of that games, and it's like the Fullmetal Alchemist 2 game. I played both of those, things like that.
I hate that game.
So did I, but I would still play it. I don't know why. But
the best games were Dragon Ball.
I stay away from them. See, I loved Dragon Ball. And took me forever to get into Dragon Ball Z.
You know what? The Dragon Ball game, the fighting game talk about weird fighting games. I played the Japanese. I think it was Dragon Ball Z3. I forgot what it was. I have the booklet or something, but it was a Japanese game. I had to find some way to play it on the PlayStation. But it was the one that has the younger Goku and Super Saiyan 4 Goku on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But the other weird fighting game that I played that surprisingly enjoyed, even though there was a way to kind of cheat at it, Gundam.
Oh, dude, yes! Remember that game?
Gundam was crazy. It was just like, God. It was like, oh, this actually worked out really good, especially if you didn't really know about a lot of the other suits back then, because that's when I really started getting into Gundam, and it was like Gundam Wing all the way and stuff like that. But then you got more. If you weren't really Gundam at the very beginning of Universal Century and stuff, that's where like a lot of them I got introduced to a lot of them that kind of got me to watch more shows for Gundam and stuff. But it was like, yeah, that was great. But like in the game, all you had to do was pick a double Zeta Gundam and just one button of just beam. Like the game didn't have no restrictions on it. It just allowed you just to beat people to death.
I'll stop.
I was like, not balanced. I was like, this game was not balanced. Shame on y'all.
No. Oh, did you ever own a GameCube?
I did. I actually traded for a GameCube for a deck, or actually a card from Yu-Gi-Oh. Like I had when I was into Yu-Gi-Oh. So this had to be like high school is when I got the GameCube. And that's kind of like me and my friend Alfred would play Yu-Gi-Oh a lot, and he would get stuff, and Alfred was weird because he would get rid of stuff like for like things that mattered to him at the time. So like he had a really good deck and he wanted to stop playing the deck, so he traded it to me without too much, right? He was just like, oh, I just want this and this and this. And I remember getting the GameCube, the screen for the GameCube, and like 3 controllers. Or no, like 2 controllers and 3 games.
Dang.
It was just kind of like, really? Like, are you serious with me right now? And he's like, yeah, I'm not playing anymore. I already moved on. And I was like, I'm not gonna say no.
His
And it's
pets
all
don't
like,
come after you or anything.
well, I mean, he could. He wasn't like he lived far from me. It was like,
Okay.
it was just he was like that. It's all like when he just wasn't interested, he move on and try to get his vet. I mean, he was more of a hustler trader when it came to stuff that he was interested in than most people that I know. So,
Gotcha.
but like, yeah, that was just it. Was interested? Go ahead, take it. I was just really surprised at the time. I still got it too. I still got that GameCube with me and this screen.
Nice. Does it work?
Yeah, I think it all still works. I mean, the GameCube for sure works. On the screen, haven't turned it on since then, but like definitely, I know it probably does work. It's not like I beat it up too much. I just need to carry it around. If anything, the controllers have probably seen more abuse than anything. Especially when it came to like Super Smash Brothers, it's like that. Those controllers went everywhere.
Yeah, see, I never knew someone in my friends group that had a GameCube, and so my only experience with GameCube was they had this girl I was dating. I went to her uncle's house for Easter, right, to hang out, and her cousin had a GameCube there, but he had it modded so that way you could play Japanese games on it, and he had the Naruto fighting game on it. And I was like, I know Naruto, but I haven't really watched a lot of it and stuff like that. So we started playing it, and I was like, oh my god, this is like, I thought at the time it was like the coolest fighting game in the world.
You know, I just thought about it. Was the RPG game you play, was it Rogue Galaxy?
I don't know.
I don't remember. Rogue Galaxy is a action role playing game developed by Level 5.
Let's see.
I remember seeing this game, but I never touched it. But it looks anime as
This
hell.
wasn't it.
Okay, it wasn't? All right.
I'm telling you, dude. I was like, the game I had was. Who knows how it ended up in my possession and stuff like that, or how it ended up in that freaking what is it, KB Toys random bin of cheap games.
I got a lot of stuff for KB Toys. Oh, was it Sudoku?
It wasn't Sudoku. I know that for sure.
Oh, wasn't? Okay, Sudoku. I know Sudoku 3.
I had rented a couple of Sudokens and Xeno Saga or Dot Hack. I rented a couple Dot Hacks.
Found the title, Grandia 2. And it's not your game. The game I was talking about was it Grandia 2. Was I really loved playing that game. Finally found it. I don't know why I couldn't remember the title. It's like, where is it?
Can you share it?
Oh yeah, can I share? I'm gonna share this with you. Actually, can I just see if I can just add it as a share screen so people can see it? Share screen. Well, share with this one. Kind of bring it up here. You probably can't see it too much, but yeah. I could remember. Oh, I had the Dreamcast one. Jesus Christ. I just want to see a picture. Damn, I'm doing all this other crazy stuff, but see the game.
I want you to freaking buy it on Steam right now. Do it, coward.
I still own this PS2 variant.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of I had a ton of games for PS2. I want to say well over like $4,000 worth of games on PS2, and a lot of them got stolen. A story for another time, but I had a ton, and this was like one of the ones that I got. I don't know why. Okay, maybe pictures wasn't the way, but yeah, no, got a 9 out of 10 on Steam, 7 out of 10 on IGN. There we go.
Not bad.
Crazy. This okay, yeah. It's just not gonna. It's like no, this is 180 resolution. Like you can't have that.
No, it's not allowed.
Oh hey, now it's actually allowing me to do it. There we go.
Oh, there you go.
Before it wouldn't allow me to kind of do all this, but yeah, great. This was a great game. I really did love the series. I remember playing 3 because of it. I didn't like 3 as much, and it came out I think late on the later consoles and stuff. But Grandia 2 was amazing. I know it says Dreamcast, but I played it on PS2. I didn't own a Dreamcast. I had some friends that owned it, but I think you owned it because you really like Sonic and some other games. I don't think you ever owned a Dreamcast for other reasons.
And Echo the Dolphin.
Echo. What was that rave game too? The skater kind of spray paint kind of game.
Jet Set Radio?
Yeah, Jet Set Radio. There we go.
Yeah.
I'm all explaining stuff wrong, but yeah. Oh no, you got. I know, like we're kind of stuck on PS2, but PS2 just had so much stuff.
It's had a long life cycle too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like kind of pulling it up here. It's like, right, Dragon Quest 8. So, how would I say? Owned, didn't, owned, owned, didn't, owned, didn't, owned. Didn't own, played it. I'm not sure if I actually owned it. Dark Cloud. I didn't play the Dark Cloud series back then. And I did play the Shin Megami Tensei series. So those I don't. Didn't own, played it, owned. Arc the Lad, owned. Valkyrie. I owned the PSP game when it was first coming out for PSP. Star Ocean, owned. Shadow Hearts, owned. This was 11. No, I think that's when they did MMO. They started getting into that stuff.
Yeah.
Played it, didn't own, owned. I owned all the Hacked, all the Xenosagas, played X-Men. Maybe, I don't remember. I did play. I owned Wild Arms 3. The Wild Arms series was great too. Original Shadow Heart. Did not play. Yeah, I want to say I did not play. That was actually a GameCube one. Did not play Tales. I really didn't get into it. Did try out Marvel Alliance. Did own Wild Arms. Kingdom Hearts I own. Wild Arms 4. I didn't even know it came out when it did. Dawn of Mana is probably the thing I hate the most outside of Full Metal Alchemist. It's like,
why is that?
Because I don't like games and what was it? Dynasty Warriors did this for their mobile games. Back then, I hated when they did like an off game that didn't play like their main game. But this game basically was like, hey, you're going to play a level, beat it, and then you're going to go all the way back into like your beginning level strat. Ooh. And every level that you played, it was like you were leveling up as you were playing, but then you would start at 0 from the next one.
Gotcha.
Stream Knight said he had played Grandia 2.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was. Yeah, PS2 was the king of RPG. That's when RPGs really just kicked everybody's butt. But for sure, Alter Iris, I didn't really get into. Full Metal Alchemist, yeah, I probably still have that game too, and I probably punch it now. And these two, yeah. So play it. So I would say like about 60% own, about 70% played. I would say like just on this list alone of like random games.
Nice. So
it was like with Shadow Heart, like, oh man, like it's so underrated.
Yeah,
but it's not as I want to say underrated, but it's still nowhere close to like a Xenogears from PS1. Like a Xenogears, if you haven't played Xenogears, you missed out. That and Legend of Dragoon, but definitely Xenogears.
Yeah, I didn't play either of those.
Yeah, like especially if you like kind of anime, I want to say anime style, but you wanted an RPG that was just played a little bit differently. But you like mechs, you like kind of like small combo systems, and just a nice flavor amount of characters. Like you have to play Xenogears. That was kind of the best. Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking about that. Kind of take me back.
Then after towards the end of the PS2 era, my brother-in-law got an Xbox. And then one of my friends also had an Xbox, and so that's where I started playing Halo. And then I got really excited about Halo because he was really older and stuff like that, and I was in high school. And he would talk about how he would get out of work late, working at the restaurant, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then he would go to his friend's house, and they had like they had they live in a townhouse, so they had an upstairs and downstairs, and so he had a kegerator that had like 3 kegs in it. And so what he would do is they would go over, then everyone would go over because they all work like the night shift, stuff like that. They would go over to his house, and then they would set up 4 people upstairs and 4 people downstairs and do a landline to play Halo against each other, and then just like drink out of the keg and stuff like that. And I was like, man, that sounds so fun. And he's like, yeah, I'll take you one day. I was like, I want to go so bad. He never did.
You know what? I never truly did a LAN party. I will say I did play computer games more younger because of that same center I was talking about. But the game that we all lived and died by was StarCraft.
Dude, yes.
When you're in when you're in a room where all the computers are connected to the same network, we just needed one person to have StarCraft, and we installed it on every single computer.
Yes.
And we would always play 8-player games and stuff like StarCraft. I mean, that's when you really got to get into it. It was such a unique game. Everybody could jump into it. And I didn't have the strats back then. I wasn't like, Zerg everybody to death or anything like that. I was more Protoss. And I was like, I know they cost a lot to do anything with them, but they just look so cool. I remember playing it, but it was the fact that we all played, against each other. Like that sort of like just play against people was so crazy around that time.
Yeah. I went Zerg all the way because I was a weirdo and I was in love with Kerrigan when she became all Zerg mode.
Can't even blame you. Can't even blame you.
She's beautiful.
Story wasn't even that bad either for that.
No?
Like I did when I finally owned it. I enjoyed playing the story for that. Just kind of getting to know like Karen and stuff because they were pivotal character and everything. But it was just like. I guess just the dynamic of it. It's all like I played Terran when I just wanted like something more neutral. Like it's just like playing enough till I get some flamethrower guys and then start raiding people with flamethrowers.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it was just like I didn't really care too much about them, even though it was like they were like the main people, like the game was all around them. But it was like, put the Protoss, man. You see all the shit they got going on, man. All these laser cannon kind of towers and stuff like that. I want that. I want that.
I love it.
God, talk about that. I will say in the later years, I'm trying to get more into PC. Like multiverses, I'm playing more on PC with Epic and all that. Yeah. I think it's a lot easier when it comes to like I want to say like Xbox Game Pass and all that. Like I could play on PC a little bit easier and stuff. But I think now I'm trying to get into it, and I think it's because I feel guilty that I have a gaming PC that I don't use for gaming. Like I really don't. Like I went in thinking I'm gonna get a PC that could do editing and play games because I just like to have it all, and I just really shouldn't have done that. I should have just went full on editing and stuff. And so like I like my graphics card, but I really should have. I needed more cores. Like, I needed more stuff going on.
You're like, what do you do on this? I watch a lot of YouTube videos.
Yeah, they can't blame me. It was just like I wanted to do more stuff, but it was like I wanted to be prepared. Like anytime we did end up starting to like play with each other and stuff. So no, I thought it was pretty cool at the time. But I think that is one thing that's like I only played it a lot when I was younger because of that center. Because there was that connectivity, and I played some games at home, but they were really off-shaft games. Like if it wasn't for StarCraft, the only thing you were doing at home for me was internet, and see what trouble you could get into on the internet.
For me, it was what song I could find and download because I couldn't afford to buy the CD.
That's LimeWire. That's the time. Wow. What else, man? Like I think we got into 2000s. I didn't think we would have got there too quick. It's weird how some games I didn't realize that I played it like high school and stuff as much. Like I'm looking at, like I said, I'm looking at 2, and it's just like, man, there's a lot of games I played at 2, but a lot of them came out in 2006 is when we graduated from high school.
Yep. At
that time, and it's like, yeah, man, I was playing a lot. Like then I was like, I had time for RPGs. If it was 100 hours, so be it. We're playing this game. Like,
no problem.
Now it's a lot harder. Like I buy a lot of RPGs. I selectively get around to them. I think what was it now? I think we could probably jump into like current time now. And the last RPG that I beat, RPG, uh, Tales of Rise. I think,
Tells it right.
yeah. Um, I think the game itself it was very different. Like I played the other Tales series, the one for PS3, that I really played. It was like 1 and 2, and I have it, I own it. But Tales of Rise was like the ones like, oh wow, there's a lot going on. It's like action RPGs, slowly fighting, trolling different characters, but a lot of stuff was going on. I really liked the overhaul of them trying to get people to play it more, and I think
Yeah.
it deserves credit. So, but that game, I didn't know when I was going to be finished. The more I played, the more I thought I was going to be finished in a few chapters, and then it just seemed like the game just kept going. I couldn't tell who was the final boss at that point. I just got lost.
That's funny.
It's like it seemed like just everybody had final boss energy. I don't know what else to do about it.
Yeah. RPGs are something I've definitely gone away from. What I did do a lot was from Xbox to 360 era, I did a lot of first person shooter stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And even that, like, I still love it, but I've gone away from it and stuff like that. Other than playing Destiny, but even then, like, I haven't really touched Destiny in a long time.
Yeah, but I think you're gonna get in more into that. I think for me, if it had, and maybe this is weird after like naming some of the other games, I wasn't a really big multiplayer person. The once PS2 kind of came into the ring for gaming for me, it was really hard for me to play more multiplayer if they weren't fighting games. I think it was just everybody was playing World of Warcraft on their computer. Everybody was looking for the next thing to play with everybody. I'm not sure if for PS3, if you remember MAG, that shooter was supposed to be like 256 players and stuff like that. And people really try to get into that and Modern Warfare and all that. I wasn't really a big person into like that. Even now, like I'm trying to get into it. Sometimes I try to touch, a multiplayer game and try to go against people and stuff. But a lot of times I shy away from it or I just don't get into it as much. I think just this month I started trying to play like Fall Guys and stuff like that. I try to really have fun with that. And I tried to just get into like just playing with other people, like if I didn't know them or not. I think what really kind of got me more into was Marvel's Capcom 3. Marvel's Capcom 3 Ultimate. That's when I really was like, okay, I have to play other people because that's how you get better. And I like the game around the time to do that. But like MMOs were strictly just not on the book for me. Like no matter how much I tried.
There was one multiplayer game you kind of played a lot, but it had to be at the arcade.
Oh, which one?
DDR.
Yes. But most people played it solo unless it was Friday night. Yeah. And then you're playing it with other people or anybody who had the courage to, play with you. Because a lot of people were eye hawking when you were playing DDR. A lot of people weren't actually jumping into it. Like it was something I know for some people were really, I would say scared off. What would be a good word to kind of say it? Intimidated.
Intimidated is better.
When you see, because especially like you see like the guys that go from place to place, and then you got like a group of like 10 people that are all heavy, max 300 and all that. You're not gonna go in there and go, You're not gonna do that. Like it's just like, and like not too many people care whether or not you were like you had the highest score or whatever, because normally people just did their turns anyway. Yeah, but. Yeah, no, I still see that as a single player because most people they don't need to play with other people.
But you were with the crew hanging out. It'd be like you playing the game nowadays, and then like people hanging out with you in the chat or like on a voice call or something like that. You know what I mean?
I could agree. I think the way that I see it is if we were all in a group and we were playing like Mario Party 8, like we're all playing Mario Party 8. Like there's no taking turns. But with DDR, more likely not everybody's jumping on. So if we were in a party like 15, maybe 3 people would play.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like unless you were really into DDR, like that's when all the DDR players came, sure. But I think like when like Carmike, you know, when people were like watching you, and like a lot of other people, like when people were really going hard, that's when the crowd really kind of came together and was like looking and stuff. But it wasn't. I don't think for me DDR was a really friendly like beginner game, even though like it pretty was. It was a pretty good, you know, kind of got into it. That's how I got into it and all that. But it's just weird. Like, you know, it's like it was hard to get more people to play with you, and I think the people who played with me were Slimmernon, like Oscar, Warren. I think I tried to get Mike on there one time. I know he wasn't really having it all too much, but he tried to play a lot of the songs that he knew about. So that was kind of really nice to do. And yeah, I wasn't with Laura around that time for sure. I didn't even meet Laura back then. Patrick, you know, he as long legged as he is, Patrick wasn't trying to get on there.
I guess our experiences are different. Like I had like a group of friends that we would always meet up, and since our high school had a Peter Piper right next to it, we could just go to the Peter Piper after school and play and stuff like that. And it'd be like a group of up to 8 of us, and we'd all just either do songs together or take turns, stuff like that. And like the take turns part of it was it wanted to be a lot of like old school 1-player, 2-player Mario and stuff like that. It's like, all right, you go, then now you go. And it'd be like, or like challenge, like, all right, I did this song. Well, can you do this song? Let me try it. I'll try that song next, stuff like that.
I you know what, and it's probably because you're East Side around that time, because Northeast had just Carmike, and that's where most people from around everywhere go to, because I think we had the best DDR machine at the time. Like though, like we had a Peter Piper, we had one that was closed, but it didn't have DDR. It had Step Up. It had the 5-button one, and people were like, that's cool, but that's not my jam, so take me back. The one DDR Stream 2, it's that's what we had, and that's where people like really play. We did have tournaments at Carmike. They did set up tournaments and stuff for the day, and I wasn't winning anytime soon, but we did have tournaments. What was that?
My dog just started barking.
It's like, oh, DDR trauma right there.
Right? No, but yeah, we had multiple places because you had a Peter Piper by Hanks, you had a Peter Piper by the Tinseltown movies and stuff like that, and then we had the $2 movies as well for the DDR machines to play. And so we would just jump around from all three, and there'd be like different people, like each ones you would go to and stuff like that. Like our main one would always be the one by Hanks because it was right there. And then we would literally tell our parents like, "Hey, it's Friday. We want to go to the movies. Can we get some money for the movies?" They're like, "Yeah, no problem." Then go drop us off. We all meet up at the movies, and we would pretend like we're gonna watch a movie. Our parents would leave, and we would walk over the little desert area to the Peter Piper and use all our money just for freaking DDR and eat pizza.
Oh gosh, yeah, because you had Lee Trevino, which just had a lot of different places on that street and stuff. Northeast was really spread out. Northeast was not built. There was really nothing around Carmike outside of Walmart. So like a lot of the other places, the stuff were all on Dyer. So it was a little bit hard to bounce around at the Northeast and stuff like that. What else? Yeah, but you know, go back to what we were talking about. When it came to, I think MMOs were really hard for me to get into, and I don't think it really changed older. Like I see some stuff that look like they look boss right now, but I think the only thing I hate about RPGs at the time was I wanted stuff to play like if I was playing local, like the single player game. Once you play Kingdom Hearts, it's really hard to play another game, you know, that's at least not as active, or I could just run around and start hitting the A button, hack and slash stuff. It's like not when it's like, you know, you're worried about hits per minute or hits per second or whatever it's called and all that stuff. I couldn't. I tried. I know some other people loved it.
Yeah, I think a lot of World of Warcraft for a good maybe 3, 4 to 5 years.
Yeah. Did you ever get into League?
I did a little bit, but that was later, like in 2017. Because my roommate at the time was like really into it, and so I was like, I always want to get into it, but I know I hear it's like toxic, blah blah. He's like, nah, man, just like we'll jump on together and stuff like that. So we started playing together. And I was like, oh, this is actually really fun.
Yeah. I didn't get into it until I want to say get into it. I didn't really get into the concept and playing it until the first time we went to GDC. And I was able to make some friends, met some people from Riot, and I think there were like people talking about it. And at first I knew about the game, but I didn't really get it, at the time. Like it's like, oh, people were playing and all that. And what was the other one? Dota as well. Like I
Dota,
didn't
yeah,
really Dota. I really didn't touch. I did watch other people play it and stuff, but I think, how would I say, like I didn't get into it till after that, and I got hooked up with the skin. I was like, yeah, let me try it out. Let me got it, and I'm like, I love the character design. I love a lot of the other stuff that go with it, and I love where all my money going. Please, no, come back. I started like started going through that rabbit hole, but I wasn't really playing to play, and yeah, and I think I got really, even when I was playing like just against bots, you got really kind of thrown into like some like the toxic behavior with it. That really made it hard because it's kind of like fighting games, right? Like you kind of hinted out earlier that you're playing a fighting game, you're trying to get good and stuff. But if you didn't start when everybody else started, you started like way later. You're fighting against people who got the cores down. Even if they're not like diamond people or whatever, you got the cores down. So when you play League, you don't have runes. You may not be level 30. You don't have all the other stuff that everybody's already equipping, and you're losing not because like you're bad at the game, but it's because you just don't have the stuff that really enhance your character sheet or whatever. And then you're still trying to learn all of that. So like sometimes you'll be getting beat by character that you're not supposed to be losing to, right?
yeah.
And it's just you find out like, oh yeah, I mean everybody's kind of already kind of ahead and stuff, and kind of got everything. They're already a few seasons in and stuff. So I know I didn't get too far into it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of nice learning. I got into different YouTube videos because of that too, just like watching people and all that. But it was definitely like a game that's like, oh, I think I picked it up, played it for a bit, played it on my time, met some friends with it, but I slowly stopped playing it when some other factors really kind of get into it, and I just realized, oh, I'm not really a person that's gonna climb rank. I think that's what it was. Even when I was okay with playing against other people, I just wasn't a person that really climbed rank as much.
It became for me, it became like I guess this is the kind of game that got me into like watching more esports stuff or just watching people play games in general. Because that's what League kind of became to me. It's like I won't really play League, but I'll watch like when the big championships are on and stuff like that every now and then. Like, and I remember at one point when I don't even notice it anymore since I don't really watch like TV, but they would show them on like ESPN and stuff like that, and I would watch a lot of sports, and I'd be like, oh, and I would just go to ESPN to like watch like a show, and I'd be like, oh, the League of Legends thing is on. Well, I'll watch it. I'll just hang out and watch this. You know what I mean? And so that opened up the floodgates for me to start watching people play games, because there's a lot of games that I think are really, really cool, but I just won't take the time for myself to actually watch them or play them. So I was like, I'd rather watch someone else do it.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I get it. When it sucks because you're watching people have fun, and that sucks. And a little bit like, oh, everybody.
I've learned to change my brain to be like, I'm just enjoying this. Like, I need some background noise. I need something that I could just kind of turn my brain off and watch. So I'm just watch this person play this game that I probably won't really play because I don't like a lot of parts of it, but it looks like a fun game in general. You know what I mean?
I get that. I think what really got me to watch some people, Magikarp Use Fly was one that I really like watching. I think he got me more into League than anybody, aside of like me wanting to get better, because his videos were funny. They were kind of really dark stretch humor around the time, but they were humorous. Like I could watch those, like you said, the background music, and sometimes you just kind of play episodes over and over that you liked or whatever. And I think that's what really got me. And I think that's kind of got me when to like influencers can sell a game. For sure, like how play a game can get you to really try playing that game too, even if everybody else is telling you like, don't do it, it's a drug, or don't do it, it's like it's a certain rabbit hole I'm not sure you want to get into. But it's like, oh, well, I'll try it just to see how it is. Everybody else seems to be having fun, even if they're yelling.
Have your types of genres to play changed because of like your like core friendships changing as you get older and stuff like that? Has that been a factor for you?
Maybe. I know when me, Mike, Warren, and were playing like games together. A lot of the games that we did play together either was because we were versus each other, or they were like games like Rock Band. Like you needed more people, so I was trying to get people to like to go in and everything. So like Rock Band would be like one that we would play. Guitar Hero would be play. I think Super Smash Brothers really kind of hold it together because I wanted to play it at home and on campus when I was kind of going to university. But I would say like even like when you started hanging out with me and stuff, I don't think it really changed all too much because I think we kind of like the same things, similar at least core games. Like we didn't like
Yeah,
everything the same, but a lot of the core games didn't really change. Like I don't know. I guess how would I say it? I don't think a lot of that really did change for me. I think it was more just what I like to do myself is what really solidified me in single player games. Mostly, like I buy a ton of single player games, but I just really like sometimes like I want to be able to play an experience by myself. And I think PS2 just sold that so hard of like you
yeah,
could play different games, you can enjoy different stuff. PS3 tried to really continue it, but I think PS3 had in some cases more misses their wins. Their wins were pretty big, like
yeah,
getting into Uncharted, big win, really nice, great. Um, but like I played Jack and Dexter and PS2, and I really enjoyed Jack and Dexter. I
yeah,
didn't think I would, but witty comments, just stuff happening, you're a part of it. I really enjoy that more than like playing like shooters with each other. Um, I think shooters, really suffer from you. This really a game that I really played and then really died off. I think one of the major ones was Gears of War that I really played, but I only played
yeah.
it because me and my brother were playing the story together.
Together, yeah.
Yeah,
That's how
and
every Gears I played, I've always
mm,
played with my buddy Will. We
yeah,
always played the storyline together.
and I wouldn't touch the game unless he was playing with me.
Yeah, same here.
It's just like if we weren't playing the game or if he wasn't ready to play it, we just didn't even touch it. Um, but it was just kind of what it is. Like it was something that me and him did together. So 1 and 2, was great and stuff. But what about for you?
Uh, for me, it has a little bit, but the biggest part about it, I think it's been for like fighting games because I've always been into fighting games, but when I don't have anybody to play with or like who has the same enthusiasm, like around often and stuff like that, I kind of drop off from it because
Mm-hmm.
I've never been super skillful enough to like go online and just have a good time in that way. It's like I just go online, I'm just gonna get my butt kicked, and so it's been like on and off where it drops off. Like now I want to get back into fighting games because I have like a group of friends that I know that are super into. Like I went over to hang out with them and we watched the finals of Evo together, and that was just fun. And that they had a Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5 on like different monitors and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I played both of them, and I got my butt kicked every single time. But I was just having a blast. It's like, oh man, like I missed this because I used to play a lot of like Street Fighter 4, but then I didn't really have any friends to play with anymore. So
Yeah, I remember a franchise that for me that died like that was Tekken, because I played a ton of
gotcha.
Tekken 3, and as Tekken had evolved over time, I had less and less people to play with. I only had like really one friend, I think Warren, that really liked Tekken
Yeah,
as much as everybody else, but I think it was one of those games like I played every single one since 3. But yeah, it kind of died off once I played through the story. Once I played a little bit, it did kind of die off, and I think that's generally for like fighting games for me. I've been kind of like that. I have to really love the fighting game to really play it beyond that stretch. So I remember I was over at your house playing Marvel's Capcom 2 a lot. Or no,
yeah.
3. Like
3.
you and your other friend. I
The
forgot his
roommate
name.
Rick.
Yeah, like me and
Yeah,
Rick, because Rick
his
was
cousins.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and his cousin would come over too.
yeah, so like actually being able to play somebody that was good was actually exciting for me when it came to fighting games,
Yeah,
because like especially when you're trying to get better, it's great
yeah,
to fight against somebody that wouldn't quit after 2 matches. Kind
yeah.
of thing.
Same here.
Cause I did that too. Like I had invited some people over at my house and we played, and I didn't realize, the difference between a newbie and someone who was like finally getting it until like I play some people and they're like, yeah, no, we're good. I'm not playing anymore. And it's like, oh, I wasn't trying to go bad. It was just, only kind of like that. So when you got to play people and I was losing, I wanted to play more because of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So same thing, I think Super Smash Brothers was the same too. Like when you really wanted to get better at Super Smash Brothers and stuff, you needed to play against people, and losing just made you want to play more.
Yeah.
So I will say that that's probably one thing that I did get better at doing when it was like a versus one-on-one stuff games. That if it was a good game that I liked the gameplay mechanics, I'll keep playing. If it's like I really liked it, I liked the story, like Blaze Blue, loved the story, anime game, everything was cool about it. I didn't have a lot of people who was really playing Blaze Blue though. Guilty Gear, same way. You know, those games kind of died out for me of playing it as soon as like, okay, I played enough, played all the characters, did some crazy stuff, but I wasn't really online for these games either, so that really kind of died out on that one. I want to say like, I guess for present day, what's a genre that you really do love playing now?
Like third person action adventure.
I get you.
Those have been my jams. Like I need to get back into it, but I had pre-ordered it and I was gonna cancel it, but I forgot to cancel it. But I got the remake of the first Nier.
Yeah.
And so I went hard on that one for a while because I wanted to play that one and then jump into Automata because I missed out when Automata came out at the time. And then the one cool thing about PC Game is it went like on a stupid sale on Steam. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to buy it on my Steam. You know what I mean? Buy it on Steam for like $10 and I have it sitting there. But I need to go back to the first Nier and beat it because I was enjoying that one so much. So, and I hear Automata is just way better. And so I just need to go beat it and then get to Automata. And I know I'm going to love that game.
I don't know what's wrong with me, but I just couldn't get fully into Nier Automata. And I think the problem was I didn't play with everybody else when everybody really hit hard on it. And so I played it when it was like an old game on a new console kind of thing. And so it's all like, okay, I think I see what people like it because it has a lot of different gameplay mechanics, had a lot of different, types of games or ways of playing it outside of it being hack and slash was kind of some more kind of things to go with it. But I guess it was just kind of like just go here, do that. I was getting pretty bored of it, honestly.
Really?
I was like, I don't know what was going on. Maybe I just played at the wrong time. But
possibly, or it might not have been the game you were in the mood for at the time. Probably. Like I know that's a big issue with me now. It's like I have to be in the mood to play certain games.
You know what game I'm just sad that I just saw. I pre-ordered this game. I'm mad because it got canceled. My pre-order today. Now it's Gotham Knights. I had the collector's edition, and Amazon just told me right now today that my pre-order was canceled for that.
No way.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we don't have enough. I'm all like, you were just selling new ones early August this month. Wow. I had this pre-order 4 months ago, and they're just like, oh, we don't have enough. Sorry, good. And it's like, oh, come on now. Now I gotta go hunt this thing down. I don't want to do that.
Have you looked it up yet or no?
Yeah, Amazon's out, Walmart's out. I'll be desperate if I have to get it at Walmart. Walmart's out. GameStop definitely was out. I even had Laura go check GameStop and they didn't have it. And Best Buy, of course, that's just a feeding dream if they have it or not. Yeah. So all the main four that they were selling the game are all out. So I now have it now in stock ready for it just to see if it ever comes back up and I can redo it. But I always like GameStop. I didn't have to pay for it until it shipped. Yeah. And if I get it for like, I think for Best Buy you have to pay for it full as soon as you put it for pre-order. Yeah, I know. I think Walmart's like that too. And I really didn't want to do that because like stupid amount of money I didn't really want to pay right now. But I was just like, oh, I did it early enough. I was like, Jesus, why did you forsaken me?
Are you excited for that game?
You know what? I kind of like. I think the way that they kind of showed it off, I'm like, oh, I mean, those are all cool. I don't care for a lot of that stuff. I just want to play it because I really loved Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
That this whole series was great. Being able to see a lot of different Batman villains, being able to do a lot of stuff, a lot of like exploration and all that. Really love that. Even though like I don't like a borderline sandbox game, like you have this map and you can only do stuff within this map. Like I like to go to different cities and actually feel like you're on an adventure. But like you're Batman, you ain't going anywhere outside of Gotham. So it was cool to be like, oh, you're going to different spots that you didn't go to before. And I think they did a good thing, a good way of like as the games progressed, you were doing more crazy stuff. When you were at the Batman mobile and you were driving around and stuff, that was amazing. When when you're doing all the stuff, gameplay was great. I really liked it, and I'm thinking Gotham Knight is going to be somewhat of a spiritual successor to that. So I'm hoping it's good. Like,
Well, they made one of the Gotham games, right? But it was like one of the spin-offs.
I don't remember. Quite honest. Outside of, I know they had other Batman games, but a lot of them weren't like the Arkham Asylum style of playing.
I think it might have been Origins.
What does that even look like? Well, Batman Origins.
Because it's WB Montreal that's making Gotham Knights, right?
Yeah, because they own the style. Wasn't Origins is
Rocksteady.
Well, it was the original one, right? Arkham Origins.
Was it the
Yeah,
original?
it was the first one. Yeah.
Prequel, right? That was made.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was the one where there was what was it?
There's a prequel one that was made, right?
Probably. Because I know
Yeah,
Arkham Asylum.
Batman Arkham Origins right here on their website.
Yeah. I'm looking at it right now. I just like, oh, I just still feel like it's the other one. I guess I just don't remember everything. I gotta remember if I played it or not, because I know Arkham Origins, City, Night. I know I beat all that. Arkham Origins was 2013 action. Yeah. Yeah,
because City and Night were made by Rocksteady, right?
I actually don't remember. You know,
It
that's a
looks
question.
fun.
That's a
Go ahead.
question to ask you. What game studio did you really like their games from when you were younger?
Oof. Well, one that definitely is near and dear to my heart is Bungie, because I love the Halo series, and like they're like swan song to Halo was Halo Reach when it came out, and like Halo Reach holds like a huge like deep place in my heart and stuff like that. Like that's what I love that game. They did a whole mission where you actually go to outer space in a ship and stuff like that in that game.
Yeah,
and I was like, this is so awesome. I wish they would try and bring something like that to Destiny or something like that in general. But Bungie is one of the ones that I really enjoy. And then if I go younger, it's probably be everybody else's or a lot of people's too. It's Rare.
I get that. The Rare was it. Rare was Banjo-Kazooie. Rare was Killer Instinct. Rare was everything the light touched.
Yeah, Killer Instinct, Banjo-Kazooie. I even loved playing Jet Force Gemini.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that. Honestly, I think Rare dominated the early sections of gaming at that point. Like they had all the iconic stuff that you played, all the stuff that was like also the weird stuff on Nintendo 64 and all.
Yeah,
that was all Rare. I want to say for me, the first one that comes to mind is Square Enix. Honestly, like Square Enix was one of those games where it's like, oh, I really want to work at this company. Like I want to be a part of the new games coming out and stuff. And I never really pursued it. It got to me pursuing wanting to do game development because of it. But I think they were the only ones that like I firmly was like, I like this game company, what they were doing at the time. And probably one of the ones I was more mad at when they started trying to pivot away from what I liked them doing. I think it was like one of those things, like when they were like, oh yeah, we're not going to do RPGs. We'll do this random action game that didn't go well from, I forgot what it was. I think the only action game that they did well, and it was with Crystal Dynamics, was Tomb Raider.
Yeah,
like the one that
those were good games.
Tomb Raider was great. Outside of that, it was like, I just need you to stick to it. And when they do stick to it, when you find something like Final Fantasy VII Remake, it's amazing. Like, this is great. And like, y'all took how long? Sure. take as long as you need for the next one.
Even Final Fantasy 15 was really, really good. Like, it wasn't perfect some of that, but it was just overall just a good, really good game to play and so much fun.
And it was a good way to kind of get back into the series and stuff. I think it was when they really were like, well, what about Final Fantasy 14? I'm like, I'm not here for that. Shuff it. I need more Final Fantasy stuff. I don't. Not if it's like an RPG.
Are you excited for 16?
Yes.
Yeah, very. 16 looks awesome. Yeah.
I will play 16. And I just think like after what they're trying to do, I think they're waking up to like people are changing how they want to play RPGs today. I think the action is it's really hard to let go now. Turn-based worked for some things, but turn-based today is hard for that to be the go-to without something to go along with it.
Yeah, turn-based has really looked like it's starting to get into like that HD 2D sprites that they've been doing with game stuff. Like they did that Live Alive game and stuff like that. They've done other games like that, and like that's where it looks like the turn-based is gonna have its bread and butter, and everyone's gonna really like it there because it brings like a nostalgia factor, but also it just looks so beautiful in that 2D HD sprites and everything like that, and then it just works so well that way. It's when you're in 3D mode, 3D mode can be really, really hard to do turn-based.
Yeah, because I guess for me the expectations is different, and I think that's that high school to college kind of transition of gaming for us. I mean, I would say relatively PS2 to like early PS4 is when like you had some of the biggest run around the world kind of RPGs or just action games, not even action RPG, just action games. Like, I mean, it's hard once you play God of War to play something that's more chill, that takes more hours to do. Like, it's really hard to kind of go from one or the other. And even for some RPG, I mean, we talked about it in the last podcast about Pokemon, not really like there's some sins that can be forgiven, but not like 28 years of sins. Like, you know, it's all like, okay, at some point you had to change. But for other stuff, and that's why I say Tales of Arise was really good for that, for doing more kind of introducing some other stuff. But I guess for me back then, I was more story than gameplay. I think now I will say I'm sliding more gameplay in the story, because games have to be more worth my time now than they did before. But to me, it's like even now, like I always take marks off of a game if story is just too second nature. Like the story don't make sense, they're making me read, no voice acting, like stuff looks just like, you know, they didn't really try. Like I will take points off the game for that, because it's like, because I'm not a person that's gonna skip cutscenes. I'm watching it. I earned that cutscene. That's the whole point. That the cutscene is the reward for normally beating the boss or whatever you were doing prior. It's like you're here for it. But outside of that, I don't know, man.
I'm hoping to this point. This is a slight tangent, but it's on topic as well. Is going forward with cutscenes, they make sure that it's a hold to skip and not just accidentally press a button and skip the cutscene.
Thank you.
Like that should be gone by now. By this generation of consoles and stuff, it should be gone by now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you can actually pause cutscenes now. You pause it, and your parents are all like, "Yo, we gotta go. It's time to go to church or whatever we gotta do." Is like, no, 5 minutes.
You gotta wait.
So don't. I can't go back. I did not say.
Like one of those moments where like your parents are like, "Hey, you gotta go. We gotta go," and like they go and you get to turn off your console, you turn it off, and you come back, your save is like messed up.
Yeah, I remember a lot of times, where I just left like my Super NES on or my PlayStation on, or especially because because like RPGs back then there was no autosave. Like you had to save at save points, but when you were fighting some stuff, you're like, well, I really don't want to redo all of that.
This fight's already 20 minutes in. I probably have another 20 minutes.
or you were just stuck in the labyrinth or a dungeon for so long. Like
I would do that a lot with Ocarina of Time. Just leave it on. You gotta go to practice. Okay, turn the TV off. It's off. I would even put like a stuffed animal in front to cover the light. That way it doesn't show it's on or something.
Yeah, lucky. I mean, my parents didn't really go in my room to kind of check for any of that. So like I have confidence, and a lot of the times it was Sunday church. Like I'll probably wake up to play the game for a little bit, especially if it's a game I was really into, like Kingdom Hearts. Like if I'm really into Kingdom Hearts, I was like, hey, I'll be playing all night. And then I'm playing in the morning. And then it's like, oh, we gotta stop playing. It's like, oh, shoot, I got too far. So let me, do all the jazz and stuff. There was a lot of games I did that for. That I'm so glad we're past that. There's just stuff like that I am glad does not exist today. Oh, and honestly, I want to say it doesn't exist because some people still do it. Like there are some games that are like, oh, you have to go to this spot to save your game, and I'm like, that's maddening. That's maddening. Like you could do it today. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
And I think the more you get into like knowing how things are done, the more you're really anal is the wrong word, but I'll say it. Like you're really anal about how people are doing things. Like no, you could do that. You don't.
Not anal. You're more aware of it and be like, okay, I get why you're doing this, but everybody else does this now. Like you can let that go.
Yeah. No, there's just a certain standard for it.
Yeah. What's a genre that you were not really into growing up and stuff like that, or as you were growing up now, it's like you're like really into more than you ever thought you'd be into?
Let's see. Today, I'll be honest, RPGs and stuff really, fighting games and RPGs are really have a hold on me still to this day. I think multiplayer games in general, like stuff like Fall Guys, I wouldn't have normally played. I'm playing now. Honestly, I would have said League if you would have asked me earlier. Battle arena games. I have not played Fortnite. I have not touched it.
Like ever?
Yeah, ever. I have not created an account. It's not installed. Never touched the game. And I don't know why I don't. Maybe because it's just the way that how people kind of. Yeah, some people that played it and some people that treated it like a kid's game. And maybe sometimes I just like, oh, man, I'm not into it. Or you see how people are spending tons of money on it and you kind of stop it there. I think, honestly, gacha games is probably the biggest new thing that I do today. And even then, there has to be some restrictions. Like I'm up to 2, and one of them is taking up 60% of my day. And it's not that I'm actively playing, it's playing itself.
Yeah.
Normally, even like if I wasn't so on the podcast, I'd be playing it on the phone, but I was trying to make sure everything else was working right that I even forgot to even do anything on it. So I think like gotchas is something really big. Mobile games, I think I will say that mobile games has been something a lot bigger for me.
Really?
Well, because you remember when we were doing like bro coded gaming and all that and stuff like that, and I was not back then I wasn't a big fan of it because I was like, it got more people into it, but I wasn't seeing it as like a business thing. I was thinking like, to me this ain't real gaming at the time, and I was like, yeah, I could have fun with Angry Birds and stuff. I have fun with match 3 games, but there weren't games that I was really trying to get dive into. Like that just wasn't the game that if it was on a console I'd play it more. I think the only exception to that would probably be Plants vs. Zombies when it was on Xbox at the time. But that was one thing I really liked it, and then I really liked it to play it on mobile too. But outside of that, it was like I wasn't too big into it. I was kind of when RPGs started being like, hey, you can play your old RPGs on your phone. I'm like, oh, that seems kind of cool, but not in a mood to play the old RPGs at the moment. Now it's like, okay, I can see some. I tried some out. I still on the lookout for some games that I really would like on like mobile devices and stuff like that. But I think we have now come to the point with like we're post Switch. I guess that's the best way. We're in the post Switch generation.
Yeah.
To where the Switch, the Stream Deck, Game Pass, like now you're playing AAAs on mobile devices, and it kind of like now kind of pushes that to the side. I still look for some, but I think even in the gacha space, it's a lot of eye candy right now, and that's kind of what it comes down to. Like everybody's like, oh, pick your favorite waifu, and this the game just the girls, and it's like I'm good. It's like people were really into Ark Knight, and I was like, this is just tower defense, but with girls. Well, it's like this. It's all it really is, and it's like, but why would I collect them when it's like the little miniatures of them? And
Little chibis of them.
if the gameplay has chibis in it, I automatically kill it out for my life. Like, I'm not
Right.
getting into it at that point. What about for you? Like, what genres did you really you're really into?
I think it's multiplayer games, like playing online with other people and stuff like that. Because whenever I would play multiplayer games, stuff like that, it was only with like my core friends, or like, hey, my buddy's coming over and we're gonna play this game online together, and we'll take turns, or we'll play split screen or something like that. You know what I mean? But like now I've gotten to the point where like I could just go into like just basically multiplayer games and just like, all right, I'm gonna have a good time, and I might not be in the chat, I might not be on the voice talk, stuff like that, but I'm having a good time playing. Like Fall Guys is a good example, right? I could just jump in at any time, play it, have a good time. Battle Royales are another one I could do it. Destiny's another one where I usually play single player and stuff like that by myself, but whenever it comes to doing like the multiplayer stuff and aspects of that, I'm more willing to jump in with like a bunch of randos and stuff like that, and just like, all right, well, let's do this together, see how it goes. You know what I mean? And before I'd be like, oh no, I need to have people I can talk to and blah blah. Like, it's opened me up to be more open and talk with random people and deal with sometimes the crappy ones and stuff like that. But those are always easy to just push out to the side or just mute.
I feel that. I think I'm starting to have appreciation for those type of games that you could jump in and play. You don't need to know everybody that's there, and the game is not hard. Like Fall Guys, everybody starts same type of playing field. Everybody is unlucky the same way. It's like there's one time you'll be ahead and then you'll get knocked off and then you lose because you couldn't get back or whatever. Like everybody has the same, and that you could just jump into. I think I really kind of starting to appreciate those games more and play them and stuff like that. I think one of the things about multiverses that I'm mixed feelings about is because of the buff system, and you can attach how your character stays in the air more, the type of body armor they get. And I'm kind of in the realization of like some characters don't do well against certain buffs and characters. Like if you have a character that just can't kill and you're fighting against a character that has armor on their second or third hit, like no matter how skillful you are, like you're gonna get caught and it's gonna hurt and it's gonna suck. And it's all like, they're just some things that kind of sucks. But like Super Smash Brothers would have been like, oh, everybody can play and it's cool, it's Gucci, right?
Yeah.
Like there is no like, oh, I can't change you to be a level 9 Chris or anything like that. Like it's everybody can jump in, but even then, that's really with friends. I think games like Fall Guys and all that, just being able to just play it and turn it off, I think are really nice. Those are the type of games that I might start playing a little bit more. Among Us was fun at the time, but Among Us you have to be with people. It's a lot more fun with your friends.
Yeah, definitely. It's the way I look at them in the multiplayer game is like, oh, I got 30 minutes to kill. Screw it, I'll jump in a couple matches for this, run through it, and then it's like, all right, cool, I'm done. I got my cool little fix, had some fun, killed some time. Now on to something else.
Yeah. Trying to think about that. Honestly, that was a pretty good question, I'll be honest. Or one to kind of get us towards the end. But before we kind of end it, I wanted to say, like, as you kind of got onto like gaming over the time and everything, you play different games and stuff like that. Did you really have a choice in a lot of like the games that you played, or like a lot of the genres that you did, or was it really like games caught you at the right moment? Like you saw the game at the right moment and you're like, I'll try it, I'll play with it. Sure.
It was a choice because like, since like my parents didn't have a lot of money to buy games, I grew up just renting so many games, and so it would go to like, all right, this Friday I'm gonna go and look at this box cover, read about it a little bit. All right, I'm gonna check this game out. You know what I mean? Grab this game and just try it out. And like, it was really I was really blessed in a way to kind of have it happen that way, because then it made me very open to games and like going to different games. And like when Xbox Live Arcade became a thing, when all those indie titles started coming out, I was like, yeah, I'll try out these games. They're like $5, $10 here. Yeah, I can spend the money for that and just try it out, because you know what I mean. Maybe I'll have a good time. And sure enough, sometimes they just blew you out of the water better than some AAA games, stuff like that. And being a parent now, it's one of the things I'm thankful for, like for Game Pass, because since games in general are so expensive, my son gets to have that same experience with his friends and stuff like that, but through Game Pass, because it's like I mean, their parents can't afford buying their kids a bunch of games, stuff like that, or they're not the biggest fond of like, oh, I don't want them playing too much video games. They shouldn't be on it so much. So it's like, well, like get them Game Pass, because then you don't have to buy them games. It switches out games monthly and stuff like that, so they can all play together online and stuff like that when you allow your kid to play. And you know what I mean. So like it's cool, like seeing my kid go, oh, check out this game. Oh, I played this game and this one's pretty fun. Oh, I played this game and it's pretty fun. Or like they'll announce all this game. Oh, I can't wait for that game to come out. The trailer looks awesome. It's like that's good, like because if that wasn't there, I'm pretty sure he would have probably been a lot more closed-minded to games and only chosen certain ones.
You know, I actually, that's pretty cool. I'm glad you kind of said it from like a parent's perspective, because one of the things I was gonna ask was also about like, you know, kind of getting games that you play with your significant other, like what genres did they like at the time, you know, stuff like that. Because I know like this is kind of why like I kind of started appreciating mobile games a little bit better, is because that's what Laura plays. That's what she will play without me telling her, asking her to. Like she found games on her own that she would play, and she's not dedicated to them, but there's some games that she's playing for a long time now. And right. I kind of, you know, you kind of see the beauty of it. Like the mobile side wasn't for me when they first came out. It was for other people that just wouldn't really even touch them. And yeah, everybody had access to it now. And I think that's what like some of the stuff now, like post Switch era, like people now have more access to play a lot of bigger games the same way they were playing mobile games. And so I think that was pretty cool. I think for me, if I were to try to answer that same question, quite honestly, I think I want to say it's a little bit of both, but definitely it was choice. And I say it was choice when I knew the game was coming out. And I was really excited for it. Like hype was just the biggest thing that you can have early in the days, when like you still have faith, like when games came out they were good. I think when I didn't have a choice is when I would play with my friends. One of my best RPGs that I always will rave about, I don't care if anybody don't like it, is Lunar 2. Like the story, the play, and it was a friend of mine, Tosh, that had the game, and I absolutely loved it. I loved all the characters. I loved kind of going through it. I loved how the characters developed in the game. And I mean, outside of like Xenogears, which to me kind of rivals that a little bit in a different spectrum, like I really did love that. But those were the only time that I really loved a game that, or I didn't really have a choice. I was just like the right moment because someone else had it. Outside of that, like a lot of games, they were planned. Like I knew what I wanted to get. I knew, you know, like I said, the type of genres. Once you got out of PS2 era and RPG, that's what you were looking for. Like I bought an Xboxes just so I could play the RPG that was on them.
Really?
Yeah, like it was like, you know, like when there's always going to be a game that's going to get me a console. And I think Super Smash Brothers is that for Nintendo right now. It's like once you put the new Super Smash Brothers game, it was a requirement to get the Nintendo console was on. Like it just, you had to do it. So a lot of that stuff was kind of planned, but that's how I was with the Nintendo Wii. I didn't get the Nintendo Wii when it came out. But I did get it a month prior to Smash Brothers because I just found it randomly at a Walmart, and it was like, that's a Nintendo Wii.
Smash Brothers coming out.
It's all, but it was like Nintendo Wii. I have cash. Let's do it. So that's kind of how it was for me and stuff. So that's kind of how I get been over the years. I think for genres, quite honestly, a lot of it didn't really change for me. I've opened up more to types of games that I wouldn't touch. Like, at least I will try them. And I will say, like I said, I got a gotcha right now that's kind of holding my life ransom. But I will say that half the reasons why, like, some games I don't play because the promise of what they were back then weren't the same.
Yeah.
And I say that that's why maybe I'm a little bit more open to genres because, I mean, maybe I'm not sure if you feel like it. Some of the single player games they're hard to come by, especially good ones.
Yeah.
And
I'm
people really
definitely a person who's like, especially for a lot of like bigger budgeted games, stuff like that now, I'm more of a wait and see unless I know the studio and stuff like that, it's behind it and stuff like that. It's like, all right, if it's this studio, then yeah, I'm for sure gonna get it. But if it's a Bandai Namco game and it's gonna be a single player game, and it's like, okay, that looks pretty cool, but you know, they've had some bad ones come out and stuff like that. So I'll wait and see because I might just get it on a sale. Like it might be a sale game and stuff like that for the future because I don't feel I should spend the full money of it because it's gonna have issues or it's just gonna have problems that don't work the way until they get it fixed right.
Yeah. No, and I agree with that. It's different because and in this game industry related stuff, you know, people need guaranteed money to make sure all this kind of going on. It went from only a few people playing it to $1 billion industry to okay, how do we maintain this $1 billion industry?
But yeah, it's an industry that makes more money than music and movies put together.
Yeah, and then, like I said, like you really have to have games like Elden Ring to really break through like single player kind of stuff like that and stuff, and it's really hard, like especially when like that single player game really isn't your jam. But it's really hard today to have really good single player games, and I think that's why maybe I'm more open to gaming now because people really want to put effort in the other stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think we hit 2 hours right there, man. I think we kind of
that was a good ending one right there.
And we didn't really even talk about the games on PS3, PS4, PS5s, and all the Xboxes around that time. So I think we could probably get going on, but I think we got a pretty good episode. I think we got a point across for genres. I would just say, man, thank you for kind of joining on. Got to go through this again. Like it was kind of a fun conversation.
This is fantastic.
And for everybody else, I really do appreciate you for hanging out with us. And I see that we still, down to 3 people. I know we saw a few people. Thank you for the comments and everything else. We really appreciate you joining us. And if you have any ideas, the stuff that you kind of feel strong about, don't forget to hit it in the comments below for people who may watch this later on, or for, just kind of, we want to know people's feelings and stuff. We're not the only ones who are playing games in our later years. And honestly, we like to see how people play games now, being as young or as just kind of getting into it for their first time. So if you're like that and you really kind of like the content you see, don't forget to kind of see us back next week. As you see here, we're streaming to both to Twitch and YouTube as a way to kind of get both things kind of happening and stuff. We might kind of lean a little bit heavier to YouTube and stuff because I just kind of favor the platform and stuff. But I think, with this kind of software and everything that we got now, I think it really works really good for us to try to hit both platforms. So that way we can give you content where you would actually enjoy it and consume it. Well, that being said, my name is DuShaun Williams, a friend here.
I'm Chris. Hit us up on our socials.
Yeah.
Follow us on everything, especially for this channel and stuff like that, so we can start growing a good community here.
For sure. It's like we want to get up with it. YouTube channel's up. Yeah, subscribe if you can. But until then, see you next Friday, 7 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Mountain. And I appreciate your time. Thank you for everybody for joining us.
Bye.